The dawn after battle was cruel. Jamie awoke to a body stitched with pain, every breath dragging against bruised ribs, every thought haunted by the clash of steel and the faces that would not wake again. The field had been won, but victory left little warmth in its wake. He sat in silence for a long while, staring at the pale light creeping through the torn tent flap. Dust motes swirled in that light like restless ghosts. Somewhere beyond the hills, the bells of Old Town tolled faintly, signaling peace to a world that had not earned it. Robert entered, stern as ever, already armored for ceremony. "The Lord Commander expects us at the parade square," he said. "They'll want the Knights of Five at the front. The people must see their heroes." Jamie didn't respond. He flexed his hands, watching faint tremors in fingers that had gripped too much death. "Jamie," Robert pressed, "you've fought like 10 men. Let them cheer you. Let them know who kept their borders safe." But Jamie only shook his head, eyes distant. "The dead have no need of parades, Robert. Let the living march. I'll ride ahead, clear my mind." Robert hesitated, then sighed, knowing resistance was useless. Jamie's will had long been his compass, the unspoken force that even command deferred to. "Be quick," he said, "and keep your cloak tight. The snow's come early." Outside, the air was sharp and clean, the sky washed pale by the promise of snow. Jamie mounted his horse, muscles protesting every movement, and urged it through the waking streets of Old Town. Merchants were setting up their stalls, children chasing one another through drifting flakes, the world carrying on as though men hadn't died screaming only hours before. He rode past the market square and down the narrow lanes toward the manor district. The houses there stood proud and silent, their banners furled against the cold. And then he saw her. It began as movement on a balcony, a figure stepping out into the falling snow. A woman, framed by marble columns and light, her hair a river of crimson spilling over her shoulders. She turned her face toward the morning sun, eyes closed, and for one suspended instant, the world seemed to still around her. Sofia Harker. She lifted her arms to the sky as snow began to dance around her, each flake catching the light like scattered silver. And then she twirled, not in vanity, but in something like surrender, or freedom, or remembrance. The hem of her cloak spun through the whiteness like ink through water. Jamie froze where he sat astride his horse, the ache in his chest and the feeling of slaves and heads of hides. Slow, slow. He could only stare, caught between breath and heartbeat, feeling the strange pull of something he could not name. When she stopped, she tilted her head, as though listening to something unseen, a whisper in the wind, and then turned back inside, vanishing into shadow. The moment broke. The street noise returned. The cold bit at his skin again, and Jamie exhaled like a man waking from a dream. He didn't know her name, nor why her image had carved itself into his mind so fiercely. But he knew, with a certainty that made no sense and yet felt older than reason, that his path, bloodied and weary though it was, had just changed course. High above, unseen in the grey light, a faint shimmer rippled through the air, like the aftertaste of power fading into silence. A whisper brushed through the snow. Mercy watched, distant, unseen, her influence threaded into the edges of the world like smoke through silk. No hand moved, no word was spoken, yet something in the weeds of fate turned, ever so slightly, toward its next design. The next morning dawned pale and cold. Snow still clung to the eaves of Old Town, and the streets shone with thin ice that cracked beneath hooves. Jamie rose before the camp stirred. His armor lay untouched. He pulled on only his cloak and sword belt. The weight of duty replaced by something heavier, need. Robert was waiting beside the fire. "They're assembling the procession," he said. "You're expected at the front." "I won't be there," Jamie replied. Robert frowned. "You'll defy direct order?" "I'll follow my own," Jamie said, steady and calm. "You know as well as I've earned that right." Robert studied him for a long beat, saw the unyielding fire in his eyes, and finally nodded. "Then go, brother. But take care. You look at her as though the world itself hangs on her breath." "Perhaps it does," Jamie murmured, mounting his horse. He rode through the morning hush toward the mansion at the town's edge. The banners hung limp in the still air. No guards barred his way. He dismounted, boots crunching on frost-bitten gravel, and before he could gather his thoughts, the great door opened. Sofia Harker stepped into the light. Gone was the playful grace of yesterday's snowfall. Today, her face was shadowed by weariness, her beauty sharpened by sorrow. She regarded him as though expecting him, though no word had been sent. "Sir Jamie Lawrence," she said softly, "I thought you might come." He bowed slightly. "I could not stay away." Her eyes, those deep emerald mirrors, searched his face. "You should not be here. There are eyes that watch and ears that whisper." "Then let them," he said. "I have faced worse than whispers." She smiled faintly at his defiance, then gestured for him to follow. Together they walked through the gardens, bare branches glittering with frost. Silence held them until they reached a stone bench beside a frozen fountain. "I should tell you why you must keep your distance," she began. "Because if you stay near me, your life may end as all others have." He turned toward her. "Then tell me, and let me decide if I still stay." She drew a breath, the sound fragile as cracked glass. "My name carries more weight than I can bear. Harker. A name once spoken with reverence in the unseen realm. My father was heir to the throne beyond the veil, the realm that mirrors ours but lies hidden in shadow. When Vaigar Valkyrie seized power, he swore to end every bloodline that could challenge his claim. He slaughtered my kin, burned our sigils, erased our songs. I was a child when I fled. Since then, I have run, changed names, buried every trace of what I was." Her hands trembled in her lap. "Now only I remain, and the hunters grow nearer. I've seen their fires in the hills. They will come, and I am too tired to keep running." Jamie's chest tightened. "You would yield to them?" "I would spare others the cost of my survival," she whispered. "Each time someone shelters me, they die. My protector last winter, the healer before him, gone because they believed I was worth saving." Jamie reached out, covering her hand with his. "You are worth saving." Tears welled but did not fall. "You speak as though you know." "I do," he said quietly. "My mentor, the man who raised me, fell by my side in battle. His last act was to place his sword in my hands and tell me to live. I have carried that command like a burden. Perhaps he meant for me to use that life for something more than killing." Her gaze lifted to him, shining with recognition of pain reflected. "You've lost much." "We both have," he answered. "But loss can forge purpose if we let it." She looked away, voice trembling. "I fear I no longer have a purpose, only an end waiting to find me." Jamie tilted her chin back gently until their eyes met. "Then I'll stand between you and that end. Whatever hunts you will have to face me first." For the first time, she laughed, a quiet, broken sound that melted into a sob. "You cannot fight an empire, Sir Jamie." "Watch me," he said, and the certainty in his voice left no room for doubt. They sat in silence while snow began to fall again. Delicate flakes, settling on her crimson hair. She lifted her hand, catching one on her glove, staring at it as though seeing her own fragility reflected in its brief shimmer before it melted away. "I used to believe," she murmured, "that mercy would find me before death did." Jamie smiled faintly. Perhaps she just did. The moment held, two wounded souls, balanced on the edge of something neither could yet name. And unseen beyond sight, in the hollow between worlds, Mercy watched. She stood where shadow met light, eyes like twin moons, reflecting every thread of fate she had spun. The air around her rippled, whispering secrets only she could hear. She did not smile. The balance she sought was not kindness, it was necessity. Every favor demanded a cost. Every spark of love lit another corner of darkness. Her voice, soft as wind through leaves, brushed the mortal world. Let them find each other. The wheel must turn. And when it does, the blood will remember. A chill swept through the garden. Sofia shivered. Jamie's hand tightened around hers. Neither knew why. Above them, the snow fell thicker, blanketing the world in silence. And in that silence, destiny took its first breath.